Good morning on this slightly mild Monday. If the weather this month has seemed a little extreme, it's not your imagination. Let's review. New York City kicked off 2018 with its coldest New Year's Eve in more than half a century. A new weather disaster phrase entered the lexicon with the bomb cyclone of January 4th, which covered the city in 9.8 inches of snow, a record for the date. It arrived, rather inconveniently, during a 2-week streak where the temperature never broke 32 degrees. The homeless sought refuge in the subway, while public housing residents lost heat. Chaos unfolded at Kennedy Airport. The flu worsened, while bed bugs, stink bugs, and ticks flourished. Then came a bout of weather whiplash, highlighted by spring-like 60-degree readings on January 12 and January 23. The fluctuations unleashed flooding and ice jams on upstate waterways. What we've seen little of so far is typical January weather. The average day this month has deviated from normal in one direction or the other by more than 10 degrees. Today's weather is rather unextreme, mostly cloudy with a high around 42. With perhaps a flurry in the evening. As for February, the Climate Prediction Center is forecasting above normal temperatures here. We'll see what the groundhog has to say about that. Here's what else is happening. New York City subways have the worst on-time performance of any major rapid transit system in the world. This is the story of how we ended up in a state of emergency. New York Times. Evelyn Rodriguez, the mother of Kayla Cuevas, who was killed by MS-13 gang members, will be a guest of the White House for President Trump's State of the Union address. New York Times. A man was killed and 2 others were wounded on Sunday near Kennedy Airport in Queens. New York Times. New York's federal tax code could increase New Yorkers' tax burden by $1.5 billion, state lawmakers said. New York Times. As a teenager, Robert Ellsberg pitched in twice at the copying machine, helping his father make copies of the classified study that became known as the Pentagon Papers. New York Times. Many Puerto Rican students displaced by Hurricane Maria are arriving in New York to continue their studies. New York Times. Gov. Cuomo announced a deal to dramatically extend the amount of time cancer patients have to sue their doctors for failing to diagnose the disease. New York Post. Leaders in Maplewood, NJ are considering ticketing pedestrians who text and walk. NBC. New York. Today's Metropolitan Diary, French lesson for a global look at what's happening. See your morning briefing. Attention, ecology in the digital age. A talk by the Professor Yves Sitton on distraction and curiosity, at Cooper Union in the East Village. 7 p.m. Free. A panel on the Church's role in prison reform at the Cathedral of St. John the Divine in Morningside Heights. 7 p.m. Free. Learn to swing dance in the first of a 5-part class for beginners, at QED in Astoria, Queens. 7:20 p.m. $20 Monday Night Magic and Juggling, at the Players Theatre in Greenwich Village. 8 p.m. $42.50 Looking ahead, Andrea Simon, author of Call Me By Your Name, joins Randy Cohen's Person Place Thing show on Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. at JCC. Manhattan on the Upper West Side. $15/$20 alternate side parking remains in effect until Feb 12. For more events, see the New York Times's Arts and Entertainment Guide. Once Upon a Midnight Dreary, one of the most famous works of American poetry, was born out of our city, in a New York newspaper, no less. The Evening Mirror published The Raven on this day in 1845. The poem had been written under the pseudonym Quarles, but the paper revealed the wordsmith to be Edgar Allan Poe and prefaced his piece with a glowing editor's note describing the writing as unsurpassed in English poetry for subtle conception, masterly ingenuity of versification, and consistent, sustaining of imaginative lift and pokerishness. Pokerish, we learned, means eerie or awe-inducing. The Raven took flight from there, making its rounds in the New York Daily Tribune, Broadway Journal, and American Review, among many other publications. Poe is said to have penned the masterpiece in a farmhouse on the Upper West Side. The building no longer stands, but the mantel in front of which he wrote the poem has been preserved in Butler Library at Columbia University. New York Today is a morning roundup published weekdays at 6 a.m. If you don't get it in your inbox already, you can sign up to receive it by email here. For updates throughout the day, like us on Facebook. What would you like to see here to start your day? Post a comment, email us at newyorktoday@newyorktimes.com, or reach us via Twitter using hashtag NYToday. Follow the New York Today columnists, Alexandra Levine and Jonathan Wolfe, on Twitter. You can find the latest New York Today at newyorktoday.com.